somewhere around 45, the anxiety showed up out of nowhere. For a huge number of women, this is not a new anxiety disorder. It is perimenopause. Today I will show you exactly why anxiety hits hardest at this age, the real biology, and the practical things that actually help. What menopause actually is? Menopause is a single day, the day you have gone 12 months without a period. Perimenopause is the transition leading up to it, and it can start in your early 40s, sometimes even your late 30s, and last anywhere from 4 to 8 years or more. The average woman reaches menopause around 51, which means a turbulence often begins around 44, 45, or 46. And here is the single most important thing to understand in perimenopause. Your hormones don't just gently decline, they swing. Estrogen can spike higher than it ever did in your 20s. It's not a slow sunset, it's a storm. Your period can still come, which is why everyone, including doctors, gets fooled into thinking, oh, it's too early. It's not too early. The hormone chaos of perimenopause is often at its worst while you're still menstruating. So when a woman says her anxiety arrived or got dramatically worse in her middle 40s, as a psychiatrist, that timing is a giant clinical clue. It's not a coincidence, it's chemistry. Talking about chemistry, why do calm chemicals disappear? Let me show you the biology. Through the ACEs framework I use with every patient, this lives first in the dimension I call chemistry. Estrogen, sometimes we call it female hormone, isn't only a reproductive hormone. In your brain, estrogen helps regulate serotonin and dopamine. Yes, serotonin and dopamine, the chemicals of steady mood and motivation. When estrogen is stable, those systems hum along. When estrogen is swing wildly up and down, serotonin and dopamine swing with it. Your brain is riding a hormonal roller coaster. Then there is a progesterone. Progesterone breaks down in your body into a substance called allopregnanolone. That is a mouthful. So here's what you need to remember. Allopregnanolone works on the exact same brain receptors as anti-anxiety medication. It is your body's own natural calming agent. It works on the GABA system, the brake pedal of nerve system. In perimenopause, progesterone is often the first hormone to fall. So you lose your built-in tranquilizer. The brake pedal gets soft, and the brain, without enough of its own calming chemistry, feel exactly like anxiety, because biochemically it is. This is why I tell my patients you're not imagining it and you're not weak. You have temporarily lost access to the very chemicals that used to keep you calm. Research over the last 2 decades have been clear that the perimenopausal window is a time of genuinely increased vulnerability to anxiety and depression, even in women with no prior history, and the risk is higher if you have ever had strong PMS, postpartum mood changes, or anxiety earlier in life. Your brain, in other words, is sensitive to hormonal change. That's not a flaw, it's just biology, and it's finally being taken seriously. The second ACEs dimension is energy, and at its center is sleep. Perimenopause attacks sleep from several directions at once, and poor sleep pours gasoline on the fire of anxiety. The 3 a.m. wake-ups, falling estrogen and progesterone directly disrupt architecture of deep sleep. And night sweats, a hot flash that may not even fully wake you up, and your sleep gets shattered into pieces. A brain running on broken sleep is a more anxious brain the next day. Less sleep raises your stress hormones, which makes the next night's sleep worse, which raises anxiety further, around and around. There is a stress hormone piece too. As this calming hormone falls, the body's stress system, the cortisol system, often becomes more reactive. Little things spark you more than they're used to. That wired but tired feeling, exhausted all day but buzzing at night, that's a nervous system that has lost its natural regulators. I'm a board-certified psychiatrist. I'm also a fifth-generation doctor of classic Chinese medicine. This was passed down in my family, and I want you to hear how that tradition understood what we're talking about, because it was describing perimenopause with startling precision more than 2,000 years ago, before anyone could measure a hormone. In classical Chinese medicine, a woman's reproductive vitality is governed by something called Tian Kui. You can think of it as the body's deep reproductive essence, and it's rooted in what the tradition calls the kidney system. Around the late 40s, the classic says this essence naturally begins to decline, and here's the part that maps almost perfectly onto the biology I just described. As the essence wanes, the quiet, cooling, grounding forces in the body, what we call yin energy, is the first to go. When cooling yin energy drops, underground heat and restlessness rise, which is overactive yang energy. That rising restless energy is exactly what you feel at 3 a.m. Wakefulness, night sweats, a pounding heart, and anxiety that comes from nowhere. Falling estrogen and progesterone, or declining kidney essence and yin, two languages, one woman's body. The tradition wasn't guessing, it watched carefully for centuries. And that older medicine offers something the hormone panel cannot, a way to think about this season, which brings us to the deepest dimension, the soul. There is a dimension the lab tests will never capture, the one I call soul, because perimenopause doesn't only change your chemistry, it lands at a specific season of life. 45, 46, this is often when teenagers are pulling away, aging parents are leaning in, careers are peaking or being questioned, and marriage may be quietly renegotiating itself. So the anxiety isn't only hormonal, it arrives at a moment when a woman is also asking, underneath it all, who am I now and who am I becoming? And here Western culture and my family tradition part ways in a way I think matter enormously. Western medicine tends to frame the whole passage as a loss, a running down, a deficiency, something ending. But in classical Chinese thought, this stage of a woman's life has a different name. It was something called 第二春, the second spring, not the winter of woman's life, a second spring, a time when energy once spent on reproduction becomes available for wisdom, for creativity, for her own becoming. I have watched for 30 years that the women who move through this transition best are precisely the ones who get to hold it this way, not as a malfunction to be ashamed of, but as a real and even generative passage. The anxiety is real, and we treat it seriously. But the story you tell yourself about what's happening changes the body that is listening. That's the whole person at once. And this is exactly why handing her a single anti-anxiety prescription and sending her home so often disappoints. It may quiet one part while the depleted body, the broken sleep, and the unnamed transition keep a fire burning. This is the difference between treating a symptoms and creating health. So let's get practical. I will give you something concrete in each dimension. None of this is a prescription for you personally. I don't know your history, but there are directions that help, and each one is worth bringing to your own doctor. First and most important, have the right conversation with your clinician. Bring your doctor two things, a symptom and a cycle diary. Track your anxiety, your sleep, your periods, and your mood for 2 months so the pattern is visible. And one direct question, could this be perimenopause? And hormone therapy is one evidence-based option worth asking about. Alongside certain non-hormonal medications changes everything. That's a decision for you and a knowledgeable clinician, but you cannot have that conversation if no one ever names the cause. Naming it is step one. With chemistry, you can steady yourself. Alcohol is worth a hard look. It worsens both hot flashes and next day anxiety. And in perimenopause, many women find their tolerance for it simply gone. Keep your blood sugar steady, because sugar crashes feels exactly like anxiety to desensitize the brain. Protein at breakfast, not just coffee. And ask your clinician about magnesium and omega-3s, two of the better studied, gentler supports for mood, energy. Defend your sleep like it's a medicine, because it is. Keep your bedroom generally cool to cut down on night sweats. Get 5 to 10 minutes of morning light to anchor your body clock. Move your body. Strength training in particular is one of the most powerful underused tools in this decade of life for mood, sleep, and hormones. And for the 3 a.m. wake up, don't fight with your mind. Slow your breathing. I would suggest you breathe in counting 4 and hold it counting 7 and breathing out counting 8. Keep the tip of your tongue touch the upper palate so it keeps energetic circuits connected. So name it, and don't do it alone. Say the true sentence out loud. I'm in a hormonal transition. It's affecting my brain. That one act moves it from a personal failing to a physiological event. Then find other women in it with you. This is spoken about far too little, and the isolation makes it worse than the biology has to. If you saw yourself in the 3 a.m. dread, the panic from nowhere, the feeling of losing yourself, please hear this. You're not losing your mind, and you're not alone. Your brain is doing something completely understandable in response to a real hormonal storm. And it gets better with the right understanding and the right support. It genuinely does. This is exactly the shift I write about in my Epoch Health series, the next 250 years, from treating disease to creating health. It will be published at the beginning of September. If you want the deeper four-dimensional tools, my public courses are linked to, and at the Yang Institute, we run a women's health program built on exactly this whole person approach. Share this with a woman who needs to hear it. Subscribe and tell me in the comments, did your anxiety change in your 40s? I read everyone.